Alright guys, so let's look at our problems. So remember yesterday we talked about these 8 different word problems, and some of them were 1-step and some of them were 2-step. And we had to figure out the strip diagram and the equation after we decided if it was a 1-step or a 2-step problem. And today we're actually going to work on the estimation. So remember, you're in charge of doing the 1-step problems for your assignment, and I am doing the 2-step problems this week. So let's go ahead and get started. So our first problem said Logan has 127 pieces of paper in one journal and 283 pieces of paper in another journal. He used 183 pieces of paper from the journals. How much paper does Logan have left? Now remember, we created our strip diagram, and we have two equations because there are 2 steps. So our first step was a strip diagram that looked like this. So we had 127 pieces of paper and 283 pieces of paper, and we were looking for the total number of paper. And that makes our equation 127 plus 283 equals question mark. The second step was using that question mark for the total paper, and we are going to subtract 183 pieces used, and this is going to tell us how much paper is left. So our equation would look like this: total paper minus 183 equals the paper that's left. So today we're going to actually work on the estimation. So when we're estimating, we're going to still go 1 step at a time. So we're going to bring our first equation down. So we have 127 plus 283 equals question mark. And just like we've been doing, I'm going to use a number line to help me with my rounding, and I'm going to go ahead and plot that. So I have 100 on this side and 200 on this side, so I'm rounding to the nearest 100. And I have 127 somewhere around here. So I know that 127 rounds to 100. I'm going to do the same thing for 283. So I'm going to go ahead and set it up. I have 200 on this side and 300 on this side. And 283 is somewhere around here. So I know that 283 is going to round to 300 because it's closer to 300 than it is to 200. So my new equation is going to be 200 plus 300, and when I add, 100 plus 300, and whenever I add 100 plus 300, that gives me 400. Now, I'm going to use this 400 to help me with the second step, so that's why I highlighted it. So my next step is I'm going to bring this equation down. So now I have total paper minus 183 equals the amount of paper left. Well, I actually know what this total paper is now based off my estimation. So I'm going to fill that in. So I'm going to say 400 minus 183 equals the amount of paper left. Well, 400 is already an easy number to use, and it's already an easy number to work with. So all I have to do to estimate is for this 183. So I'm going to use my number line again. I have 100 on this side and 200 on this side. And I have 183 right here. Is 183 closer to 100 or is it closer to 200? That's right, it's closer to 200. So I'm going to say 183 rounds to 200. Now, instead of the saying 400 minus 183, it's going to say 400 minus 200 equals question mark. Well, if we have 400 and we take away 200, we are left with 200. So I know my answer, my final answer that I'm going to do tomorrow is going to be somewhere around 200. Let's look at our next question. Our next question says a farmer has 734 plants to feed his animals. He feeds the pigs 149 plants and the goats 321 plants. How many plants does the farmer have left? Now remember, yesterday we created our strip diagram, and we said there were 734 plants total. He fed the pigs 149 plants, and we're trying to figure out how many plants are left over. And our equation would read 743 minus 149 equals the number of plants remaining. After we've done that, our second step is going to be using that number, whatever it is, for number of plants remaining, and we're going to take away 321 plants for the goats, and then we're going to have our plants that are left. And our equation would be plants remaining minus 321 equals our plants left. So we're going to start with our estimation again. So I'm going to go ahead and bring my equation for my first step down. And like we've been doing, I'm going to round as my form of estimation. So I'm going to round 734 and 149 to the nearest hundreds. So I'm going to start with 734. So I have 734 somewhere right here. I have 700 on this side and 800 on this side. Is 734 closer to 700 or 800? That's right, it's closer to 700. So I'm going to say 734 rounds to 700. I'm going to do the same thing for 149. I have 100 on this side and 200 on this side. Now 149 is a very tricky number because it's super duper close to being right in the middle, but it's not quite there yet. So since it's not quite there yet, I'm going to go ahead and say 149 rounds to 100. Now I'm going to set up my new equation. So instead of it saying 734 minus 149, I'm going to use my new numbers. So I'm going to say 700 minus 100. And when I do 700 minus 100, I get 600. And I'm talking about plants. Now remember, again, I highlighted it because I'm going to use this for my second step. So for my second step, I'm going to go ahead and bring down my equation. So I have plants remaining minus 321 equals question mark. But now I know what the plants remaining is. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in 600. Excuse me. So now it should say 600 minus 321 equals plants left. Well, again, I'm going to round my 321. And I'm going to use my number line to help me. So I have 300 on this side and 400 on this side, and 321 is somewhere around here. So I'm going to say that 321 rounds to which one? 300 or 400? That's right, it's going to round to 300. So my new equation is going to be 600 minus 300. Well, if I have 600 and I take away 300, I am left with, that's right, 300. So I know tomorrow, whenever I solve, that my final answer should be somewhere around 300 plants. Let's look at our next question. Our next question says Jackie has $14. Her mom gives her $16. She then shares the money equally with her brother. How much money did each person get? Well, I know that from our strip diagram that we had 14 and she got 16 more, and we're looking for that total amount of money. So if I look at my equation, it's 14 plus 16, and remember I forgot to change this, it should say equal. 14 plus 16 equals the total amount of money. So I'm going to go ahead and bring my equation down. And before I do that, I messed up. Before I do that, let's look at the second step. So the second step is the total amount of money, which is from step 1. And she splits it equally with her and her brother. So then we have Jackie's money and her brother's money. Well, if it's Jackie and her brother, that's 2 people. So since it's 2 people, whenever I'm going to divide, I'm going to divide by 2. So my second equation is going to read total money divided by 2 equals the money that each person gets. Now I can actually look at my estimation. So I'm going to bring down my equation for my first step. 14 plus 16 equals the total amount of money. And I'm going to go ahead and round both of these numbers. So 14 is going to be about here. I have 10 on this side and 20 on this side. Again, 14 is close to being in the middle, but it's not quite there yet. So I'm going to say that 14 rounds to 10. And I'm going to do the same thing for 16. So I have 10 on this side, 20 on this side. 16 is a little bit further over. So is 16 closer to 10 or 20? That's right, it's closer to 20. So 16 rounds to 20. So my new equation is now going to say 10 plus 20 equals question mark, and I can figure that out. 10 plus 20 is 30. And again, I highlighted it because we're going to use that to help us with our second step. So let's go ahead and bring our equation for our second step. So I have total money divided by 2 equals question mark. Well, I can fill in my total money now because I know it's 30. So I'm going to write my equation now. So it's 30 divided by 2 equals the amount of money each person gets. So again, I don't have to do anything with this 30 because it's already been an estimation. It's already been rounded. So now I can look at my 2. Well, I know that 2 is pretty close to 5, and I know how to skip count by 5. So I'm going to go ahead and use 5 as my estimation. So now my new equation is 30 divided by 5 equals question mark. Well, I can figure that out. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So I know that it's pretty close to 6. So they're going to get somewhere close to $6. And tomorrow we'll check to see if we're right. All right, let's look at our last question. Our last question says a garden has 5 rows of plants. Each row has 6 plants. A family of birds ate 14 plants. How many plants are left? So the first part is our strip diagram. So we know that we have 5 rows. There's 6 in each row, and we're looking for the total number of plants. And our equation would be 5 times 6 equals question mark, or 5 groups of 6 equals the total number of plants. Then I can use my second equation to help, or my second short diagram to help me figure out my second equation. So I'm going to figure out my total number of plants from step 1. And I know that a family of birds ate 14 plants, and I'm trying to figure out how many plants are left. So my second equation would be total number of plants minus 14 equals the plants that are left. So again, I'm going to use my equation, and I'm going to bring down to my estimation for step 1. And I have 5 times 6 equals the total number of plants. So 5 times 6 is pretty easy. So sometimes the numbers that we are given are actually numbers that are pretty easy to work with. And so since I already know how to skip count by 5, I'm actually not going to do anything different. So I'm going to keep my estimation as it is. So I'm just going to say 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So I know that it is 30. I highlighted it because I'm going to use this number for my second equation. So I'm going to bring my second equation down. It says total plants minus 14 equals question mark. Well, I'm going to fill in my total plants here with our 30 from over here. So I'm going to say 30 minus 14 equals the plants that are left. Now, with 14, it's not that easy to work with. It is a little bit, but I can work with an easier number. So I'm going to go ahead and round it. So just like we've been doing, I'm going to set it up. I have 10 on this side, and I have 20 on this side. And 14 is pretty close to the middle, but it's not quite there yet. So that means that 14 is going to round to, that's right, 10. So my new equation is going to be 30 minus 10 equals question mark. When I do 30 minus 10, I am left with 20. So tomorrow my answer should be somewhere around 20.